Yes, I will
Okay.
tell you my story at 12.
Okay, I think we have the technical difficulties worked out. I think we're ready to get started. We are past a couple, 2 minutes past time, so
Shucks. Okay, well, I guess I'll call this meeting to order of the Accessibility Advisory Board. I will request staff confirmation that the Kansas Open Meeting Act required notice has been properly provided.
I'm going to shut the door.
Yes, it has.
Thank you. And a roll call?
Hey, Michelle, I was having Commissioner Nelson. Then you should be able to join now. Commissioner April. Okay, bye.
Me? Here.
Oh, sorry, Chair April. And Commissioner Kirkhart.
Here.
Commissioner Gregory Hubbard. Commissioner Vice Chair Oaks.
Here.
Commissioner Trimmer. Commissioner Arnold.
Here.
Commissioner Coates. Say it again, 'cause I just got it. Commissioner Coates. Can you hear us? I see you're on Zoom.
It looks like you're still muted, Commissioner Coates.
There.
Yep, I just connected. I didn't know if you were talking to me or not.
Yes, sorry.
Commissioner Coates, I'm going through attendance.
She's here.
And
I
Commissioner.
am here.
Perfect.
And Commissioner Lamar.
Here.
And our youth on board, Wisby.
All right, thank you. Did everybody have a chance to look at the minutes from the February 1st meeting? Got them here, and I'll ask for a motion to approve those minutes.
I move we approve the minutes as posted.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right. That brings us to public hearing. I don't see that there's anybody
We do not
here.
have a public hearing scheduled, and no one is in attendance.
Okay, I guess we'll move on to administrative items. Welcome, new board member, introduction.
Yes, welcome, Commissioner Lamar. If you want to say just a moment, we'll kind of let everyone, you kind of get it with the roll call, but if you want to introduce yourself just a minute.
Okay. My name is Nayensi Lamar. I'm an independent living specialist and an ADA coordinator for Independent Connection here in Salina. I've been doing this for 3 years, almost 4.
Welcome. We're so glad to have you.
Thank you.
And we wanted to just remind those who join midterm or are appointed when we don't have our normal thing, you are given the packet, a PowerPoint in your welcome packet that has the training that we do annually. So we aren't planning right now unless anyone has questions about that PowerPoint, which is your basic protocol for board membership and what the city's rules are, because it is a little different to be on a public commission or public board than your normal nonprofit boards or other things. So just those rules and that kind of stuff. If you have any questions, let us know. We aren't planning to have a special training because we'd have to have a quorum and have everyone present, but if you need one-on-one help after you read that, or if it doesn't make sense in that PowerPoint, please let us know. And staff, just don't send a group email, right, or a group text. We don't want to start a meeting, right, because that's some of those acts that involves. And then you should have also received a packet of information that's from the Attorney General that all commissioners get throughout the city. And if you have any questions, please let us know. But right now, we're not planning, with us only having 4 quarterly meetings, we aren't planning another study session on that topic. You'll get it all again in, when do we do them, Lily? November? Yeah, the November meeting, we'll do it all again. So until that, we've kind of, as a group, our department has 7 boards and commissions. So we've kind of got it down to a science, and we do make sure everyone gets the same information on that. And maybe a little bit special if there's some things special about your board that we need to do extra on. This board and commission, there's not a lot of that extra. You don't have zoning hearings or anything like some of the boards do. But with that, we welcome you. And if you have any questions, you know where we are. We've worked with Ms. Lamar before and some other things. She's very involved in accessibility things, so we appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to liaison reports. The first one is website. Commissioner Kirkhart, any updates?
Really no updates other than just the last 2 or 3 days, our church is having a get-together Sunday afternoon, and I thought, after all this rain, I go, because you used to be able to just walk through the grass, get underneath the port, and I thought, talked to my wife, I said, okay, I need to go online and see what's going on, to see if we are able to get to that. Came across the article that you had about the Lakewood and about the playground deal and the accessibility, and it's so I drove by there, a person could get actually onto the, without having to go through the grass. I don't mind going through grass, but problem is with this chair and me, it sinks through the grass and stuff, and I thought, but their sidewalk get through the play. Obviously, I'm not going to be on the playground, but if I'm a grandkids or somebody had their grandkids, or if they was concerned about when I know when they came across that, would have read the article that you had and about everything, they would have been, oh, shoot, yeah, that'd be awesome to take my grandkids down to the playground or down to the, we could have a picnic down there sometime. And so I was able to find that online, and like I say, that's about the only thing I looked online, but everything else is looked like it's still good to go. And like I say, another unique thing that a lot of people probably don't think about until that time happens. And oh, shoot, get down there. I can't get there or whatever and stuff. So, but I was able to read that nice article they had and about the playground, and they could go down there and you don't have to worry about the accessibility and getting there to it and stuff. So.
Well, and I did want to mention, just last week, they have been talking a lot about updating what they call YCAG, which are the website accessibility guidelines that have been published. And they just finally came out with them. They're about a year past when they said they were going to come out with them. But the guidelines were just released, I think, last week. Nancy, do you remember? I know I got it through my ADA coordinator, but or Commissioner Lamar. I think it was last week or so that they came out with those, and so that was something I haven't had a chance to forward to Commissioner Kirkhart as the liaison, but they did come out. So I think that's something to be looking at. We're scheduling an internal staff with our IT department to kind of start going over those. And although we contract out with our website development and all of that, and in the contract it says you need to be accessible, there's just so much to it. It's a huge guideline, and I'll be forwarding that to you so that you can have it for next time. So it's something to look forward to. But we are meeting internally as a staff to go over those and start working our way through it. It's a huge undertaking that requires some technical guidance too, but I think it'll be something that you can now start having more to get your teeth into, and we'll work on that with the staff internally and then again with our provider. And I know our contract has things in there that says you must, but with the new guidelines, there are always changes, and keeping up can be hard.
Sure. Okay.
But
I look forward to that.
Yeah. I'll give you some good reading.
Good.
Okay, the second one is social networking, social media posts, and that is me. I had been looking at seeing on Facebook specifically, just because that's what I utilize the most, posts about the fair housing seminar, which I assume went really well. I think we'll hear about that in a little bit, but so I haven't seen much within the last week, but there was a lot that it kept showing up on my social media, so I don't know how it was for everybody else's. But I feel like you guys sufficiently got the word out there about that, and I hope it was well attended.
Yeah, I think so.
It was.
Good.
Yeah, it was very well attended.
Awesome. Okay. Training, Commissioner Coates and staff.
Yes, I want to
Yes.
thank you for saying yes. I twisted her arm a little bit off between our last meeting and this to see if she'd agree, and she did graciously agree to take on this liaison role.
Yes, and so we have just a small update where Michelle and her team have been working on potential dates for that in October of this year, and that we are also going to be able to partner with the Salina Chamber on location, and then also getting attendees there. So we're excited about that. And we are researching different topics and speakers. So if there are things that you have heard of that are really good that we need to include, please reach out to either myself or Michelle or her team so we can add it to the potential list.
Yeah. So what the chamber agreed, we're trying to think of it from downtown's perspective, like how to make your business more accessible and those types of things. So those are the topics. So we're looking for speakers. We now have a place, and we are looking, I think with the chamber dates and our schedule and everyone's schedule, we're looking either that first week in October, so like October 1st through the 4th. And I see a wince, so I'm not sure if with that date, what it looks like for everyone else, but
I'll be on vacation, but
Okay.
I mean, I am one person.
So.
And we actually leave, I think, the 3rd, so
okay.
the 1st or 2nd would be good.
Okay.
I
dearly
like
noted.
I like that direction going with I mean, we're in Small Business Appreciation Week, and small businesses, they're opening a business that they feel passionate about, and having that business be accessible is just sometimes not a piece that they think about. So I think it's really important to get that education out there somehow. And a seminar like this, as long as, I would say the one thing is keeping in mind what time of the day you make it available, because they are running businesses.
Yeah.
Okay.
So early morning and serve coffee, or like over the lunch hour, like a long lunch, or even an evening class, just because, I mean, a lot of our small business owners are running their business.
Yeah.
Very good. That's really good feedback. What do you think, Commissioner Coates? Anything else? Have we missed anything?
That sounds great. I would say, what about maybe like a Monday too? Because I know a lot of the downtown businesses are going to be closed on Monday, so that may be something to look at too.
Which would make it September 30th that week, but hey, I think it's close enough to October that we would be, isn't it 30th? I think 30 days has September. Yes, the 30th.
Yeah, I think traditionally there was a lot of places closed on Mondays, but I mean, there are still a couple of retail stores that are closed on Mondays, but there are a significant number that are open on Mondays now.
In April, is there an evening that they're open later? Is there a day of the
There
week that they're
used to
open
be,
later?
but not really.
Okay.
Not really anymore. They used to stay open later on Thursdays
Yeah.
and be closed on Mondays, and now they're just kind of, they've got their schedule.
Yeah.
So those are the timeframes we're looking at. We don't have anything solidified. I've just been like going back and forth with the chamber on when they're available.
Yeah.
And when our schedules work. That week was the week we were tending to lean towards.
Yeah.
Okay. That was all we had. We just finished up the other seminar, and then we were going to start on this one and working on that. And we appreciate I would request if you have suggestions on topics or speakers. That's our next step, to find some topics and speakers. And we are not planning this to be as long as the seminar, the fair housing, and not planning to have any meals with it. So a couple hours is what we're looking at. So 1 or 2 speakers would be all we would need, and ideas on speakers and topics that would be relevant. Please, I would like to have those. I don't want to wait clear to the next meeting, since we're looking at August. So if you come up with those, just don't do a group text or group email again. Just send it to either Commissioner Coates or staff.
I would even say, and this is just like a random suggestion, if you could even find enough speakers to do it. I think the more impactful things for a lot of people is to hear from more people but less time. So like the 7x7 that Kansas Wesleyan does, 7 speakers get 7 minutes apiece. And then, having time for questions and having those speakers in a panel so that people can ask specific questions. Because I think people that come to that kind of thing want to ask questions. Like they have a very specific thing that, may or may not get answered in those questions. But that would be my personal opinion. I don't know if anybody
I think
else.
that's valuable.
Yeah.
And it may depend on how many we can find.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
And for the speaker wouldn't necessarily have to come up with a great big presentation, but to be part of the panel and to answer questions too. Yeah, that can be appealing as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we probably this year will not work on getting it certified for all the credit hours. That is, that is a huge undertaking, as Lily can attest to. After getting through this one, getting 3 different certifications is very challenging, and you do have to have more materials and other things to meet those accreditations. So I think for our first foyer, a panel would be very nice and not have to have all those kinds of materials, which are very worthwhile, but it does create a lot more
Work, a lot of
Work.
copying.
yeah, that too.
Well, and you can always create however people are going to sign up for this, because you'll want a ballpark RSVP is a place where they can submit their questions prior, so that some people are embarrassed to ask questions in that kind of a public setting. And so maybe just having a way that they can be very specific about their question. I have such and such racks of clothes and, that kind of thing.
Good idea.
Just would
all
be-
good feedback.
Yeah.
I tried to take good notes.
Okay, I guess we can move on to the transition plan. Vice Chair Oaks.
The transition plan continues to be a work in progress, and I have spoken with Michelle briefly, and they're still it's still at a phase where trying to update this various departments' status on the old transition plan before a whole new transition plan is created.
Yes, and they're working on getting bids. Everything's in progress. We went back through that older transition plan that I had found where we left off, and we had some gaps in employees and kind of going through that. So we've been chipping away at all of that, and I think they've got a lot of it falls under Parks and Recs department and those spaces, and they're working on doing a master bid out to agencies, so bathrooms, the public bathrooms, facilities downtown and the parking lots and that kind of stuff, and parks and all of that. They're trying to get a master bid out for those projects. And I know, and I've been meeting with them in between our regular public meeting and just statusing that. Where are we? What are we? So we can report on that. I'm scheduled to go to the conference in June, the next ADA conference, and one of my tasks for going to that again this year is to find viable people who can provide professional transition plans. And I know it's such a huge area. Usually it's divided into different segments. Some are really focused on activities and programs. Some are really focused on rights of way and more your transportation area. Now a specialty that's new is web accessibility and digital. I mean, that wasn't even envisioned in the original, but there are different people that have those specialties. And so kind of figuring out the next step, getting some more guidance on where do we want to focus, because we probably can't do it all at once. So which area are we going to focus? What are our options for obtaining those specialty assistants with writing a transition plan and making sure we capture things, because there is just so much. I think you have to kind of break it into segments. So
And it will be an ongoing process.
forever.
Yeah.
I don't think it's ever done. It's like laundry. It's never done.
Yeah.
So, but it's continuing to move forward. And as improvements are made, because who would have thought in 1990 when it was passed that we'd have the internet the way we do, or a lot of the tools that we have. So I think it's always keeping up with technology and availability of products to continue to move that forward on accessibility. I don't think it'll ever be done.
Okay, and still with you, resource list. We have this really nice
And
list.
we got a copy of this really nice list. There is one change that needs to be made as Salina Grace has moved their location, and Marissa's going to update that on there. And it was interesting. I went over to Salina Grace's open house, and there was a girl who was planning on putting together a resource list, and I said, oh, you need to contact Marissa in Human Relations. We've got it. Or go to the website, go to the city website, because we just updated a really good list. So,
And I would say I have written down here where that is on the website for the public. It's www.salina-ks.gov/CRD-resources, and it's a PDF community resource guide in 2023, and then we'll update it again here in 2024.
will you repeat that www one more time?
It's on the front.
It's on the front
page.
Right here.
Right there. Good. Okay.
Yes.
Backslash.
I was just reading it more for the,
Okay.
and I'll repeat it one
Dash.
more time for the audience or public.
Got it.
It's right here, too.
www.salina-ks.gov/CRD-resources.
You have to have the dash resources on there.
So hopefully that helps anyone that is listening and wants to see that. But if you get on the website, you can also access the packet, and it's part of the packet where the resource list is, and it is listed on that information too for anyone that is interested.
Okay. On to 3.3, discuss educational videos from U.S. Access Board.
Yes, we have provided to you, we didn't have a speaker this time. We do have a guest speaker planned for next time. So we're trying to do a little bit of an educational piece when we get together, since we only get together quarterly. And what Lillian has put together a wonderful little cheat sheet that you can go. I would recommend this website for a lot of information, but it's the U.S. Access Board. I think it is U.S. Access Board if you Google that. But the links in this with your packet, and if you click on those links that are provided, you can see the videos. And so they break things down on the way things are supposed to be. And they've put together such a nice video series. We just wanted to make you aware of this and how they talk about these different, they break it all down into each different area. And I would caution you, one thing is there's so many overlaps in different situations, and it makes a difference whether you're in a public facility, like what you think of a public facility, or if you're in a Title II, like a government public facility versus a small business. So there's always a lot of questioning on it, but they do a really nice job for people like me who are challenged with spatial relations. And when they start telling you sizes and doing this, like a visual is a really nice thing for me to see. So we wanted to just make sure you are aware about that. And Lily's pulling it up while I'm talking a bit, so she can kind of show you a little bit of an example. They're just really well done, very professional videos that do a nice job of sharing the information, what can be complex information if you're challenged with spatial relations, and that's why I'm not an engineer or an architect, something of that nature. Like, that is challenging and not in my scope of easy wheelhouse. So these videos make it easier to kind of understand. And so we wanted to make sure you, as the Accessibility Advisory Board, were aware that they existed and knew where to access them. And we tried to make an easy document for you to see them. We're trying to share them a little bit online. We aren't going to watch all of them. We think it's a lot and we don't want to keep you here, but we were going to try and demonstrate one if it works, if we can get it to work. We are having some technical difficulties a little bit here, but it looks like she's getting going. So this, which one were you going to show? The maneuvering at doors. This is one of the shorter ones. They all run in small chunks, which is nice. You don't have to sit through, an hour of it. Each one is broken down into, 6 to 15 minutes, I would think is the longest one probably. I'm trying to remember. It doesn't have the
This
time.
animation explains requirements for maneuvering clearances at doors in the ADA and ABA standards. Door maneuvering clearances provide space so people with disabilities, including those who use wheelchairs, can approach and open doors and proceed through doorways. Door maneuvering clearances are sized according to the approach direction and the swing of the doors. For most approaches, including a forward approach as shown here, space is required beyond the latch side of doors. This provides room for optimum positioning at door hardware. A latch side clearance of at least 18 inches is required on the pull side for forward approaches. The clearance must be at least 60 inches deep. Projections into door clearances obstruct maneuvering. Fixed objects, such as shelves, cannot protrude into the required clearance anywhere along the full height. Mobility aids vary greatly in their design and size. Many people use power chairs, scooters, and other alternatives to standard manual wheelchairs. Providing additional clearance beyond the minimum specified will accommodate a broader range of devices, including larger models, by allowing more positioning and maneuvering space. Maneuvering clearances also serve people who use crutches, walkers, canes, and other mobility aids. As with wheelchair access, specified clearances provide room for effective positioning at doors. The maneuvering clearance is required to be flush with the wall. An offset of up to 8 inches from the face of the door is permitted. Where an offset would exceed 8 inches, such as at deeply recessed doors, the maneuvering clearance must be located 8 inches maximum from the plane of the door and be sized for a forward approach. Less space is needed on the push side of doors than on the pull side. Maneuvering space on the push side for a forward approach must be at least 48 inches deep. A minimum 12-inch clearance is required on the latch side of doors that have both a closer and a latch. This additional clearance allows easier maneuvering through doors against the force of closers.
That's the problem, the forced closers.
If a door does not have both a closer and a latch, no additional clearance beyond the opening is required on the latch side. Negotiating thresholds while proceeding through doorways can be a challenge, especially where doors have closers. Thresholds are limited to a height of 1/2 inch, and their edges must be properly beveled. Thresholds no higher than a 1/4 inch can have straight edges. Mobility aids, including wheelchair footrests, are sometimes used to help push or prop open doors. For this reason, the bottom surface of doors on the push side must be smooth to a height of at least 10 inches. Applied kick plates can be used to help protect door surfaces. The standards also specify maneuvering clearances for side approaches. Hinge side approaches on the pull side require more space than most other approaches due to the maneuvering required. All maneuvering clearances are illustrated in the standards. Maneuvering clearances are dimensioned based on the approach direction, the swing of the door, and, in some cases, the presence of a closer or latch. At doors in series, a separation of at least 48 inches between the swing of doors provides space to get through one door before encountering the next. This required separation also applies where doors swing away from or towards each other. Maneuvering clearances are required at each accessible door, but they can overlap. At entry alcoves, it is beneficial, though not required, to provide wheelchair space beyond the swing of doors. As with doors in series, this provides enough space to clear one door before proceeding to the next. Exterior doors can be difficult to open due to the weight of doors, wind loading, air pressure, and other factors. While the force to open interior doors cannot exceed 5 pounds, a maximum opening force is not specified for exterior doors. Automating entrance doors is very helpful, although it is not required by the standards. If doors are not automated, closers should be adjusted to the minimum necessary for positive latch. Controls for automated doors must comply with specifications for operable parts, including clear floor space. This space must be located outside the swing of doors. Controls should be located so that users can conveniently proceed through activated doors. If space at the control is incorrectly located within the door swing, users must hurry out of the way to avoid getting hit by the door. Locating the control away from the door on an adjacent wall, as shown here, or on a post is beneficial because it provides clear floor space beyond the door swing and allows a convenient reach to the control and continuous forward travel through the doorway. Further guidance on accessible doors and other requirements in the ADA and ABA standards is available from the U.S. Access Board. This animation was developed by the U.S. Access Board in cooperation with the federal agency.
So that kind of gives you an idea, and I think it's really helpful for those of us who diagrams are maybe tough to read, or just reading the words of what they say. It gives nice illustrations. For me, it's a good visual that helps reinforce that learning. Now, that doesn't mean I won't have to go back and reread if a situation comes up, or you're constantly looking at it. The devil is in the details, I think, for this, right? Like, it just really makes you more thoughtful about the details of placements of things, and we can always do better, right? You never. The hardest thing from my perspective is that sometimes what helps one individual maybe isn't as convenient for another individual.
We all have different learning styles.
Right, and the way, like, if you place something in one place, it helps this group of people, but then it may not be as beneficial for another group, and so that can be challenging to make it as beneficial for all. Sometimes you wish you could be more adaptable, that it could change, but that's the beauty of it, and why I'm not an architect, because those details are very challenging for me, but we are trying to look at that and be more thoughtful in buildings, and I think these videos are very helpful. So hopefully, if you have a chance, we just wanted to continue our thread of sharing educational moments with this group. That was it. That concludes that presentation. And you can thank Lily for doing the nice little attachment that has it all organized and neat.
Yes, it looks
it's
nice.
very nice.
It's helpful. And then item 3.4, we kind of already did this, but discussing optional dates in October for sponsoring the first ADA seminar.
Yes, we kind of already covered that, but we can just kind of refresh a little bit about, maybe tie that into the way our fair housing seminar ran, and maybe give you a little update on that. We don't have all the numbers yet. We had around 50 some participants. So we're getting back up to where we were before COVID. I would say that's back to the normal number. We still would like to grow it a little more at some point, but we're happy that was a nice number. We had almost all of our speakers were new. There were only 2 speakers that had been there before. So it was good to have some variety. I don't know, it's always a challenge. The topics are consistently the same, because it's just maybe a new twist or a new question, but there haven't been huge changes to have a lot of new topics. We try and vary it, so every other year we maybe switch up a little bit, but we kind of all go back to the fair housing basics. But we think it was a great event. We were happy with it. We've had good feedback so far. We're always looking to make it better. And we're looking forward to starting something then with this group, to having something. We'll start a little bit smaller, not a full day event, like I said, but a couple hours, see how many speakers we can get. to get that are knowledgeable on the topics. But we still really welcome if you have ideas for specific topics or panels, what to focus on, especially any input on questions people are hearing. This first one, we are going to target businesses, how to make, your customer service be more accessible.
I like it.
So,
Commissioner Coates, I'm going to go ahead and mention this. She had a really good suggestion as far as for the availability of the Accessibility Advisory Commission at there was to know what time the breaks were going to be. Because as we man the tables, really, between the breaks, there was no need to man the tables.
There wasn't.
okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
And
a good point.
And so if you don't want to attend the sessions, really, I think it'd probably be easier for people to come from work and things to just come for the breaks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good tip. So,
Got to
That is a good idea to have a
Got to know the
specific.
other table holders, but,
Really, people did not leave the
Session.
sessions to come into that room.
Right.
well, that's good they
much at
aren't
all.
leaving. I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah, exactly.
That's a really good tip to
Yeah.
know for that. Now, we probably won't have that same type of breakout or tables for our first event for
Exactly.
the AAB, but I think that's really good.
But to keep in
feedback.
mind for next year's fair
Yeah.
housing. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I guess we can move on to public forum.
I don't see anyone else online, and there, just for the record, there's no one in the audience.
Here.
One thing that I used to kind of ask, I hadn't asked for a while, have there been any complaints that specifically would relate to this advisory board?
There have been concerns listed. They haven't risen to the level of complaints. I'm trying to keep a better job of, we're trying to keep better track and not just every phone call, like trying to log it into a system. And with the new GovBuilt system that the city has implemented, I think we'll have a better consistent rate on that. We do have people call with something. Usually what happens is I go and look at it. We contact the entity, if it's not the city, and say, this concern has come up, what, would you be willing to do something? And usually they have. Now, a couple of times it's been pretty expensive, so they're working on it. It wasn't something fixed right away. But since our last meeting, we've probably had 3 of those,
Okay.
just to give you an idea.
Okay.
So addressing those concerns. If
And are they structural accessibility? Are they
Mostly
service
structural.
animals accessibility?
Mostly structural,
Okay.
and what we're talking about. Now, under discrimination in the HRC's area, we still get quite a few ESA questions. So, or sometimes even complaints. I'm trying to think. I don't think we've had an ESA complaint in a while under HRC, but that's still the number one across the nation.
Yes.
The number one complaint in housing, fair housing, the number one HUD complaint documented is ESAs.
Okay.
But we've slowed down on our trajectory of those. It seems like, I don't know if we're getting the word out, we try, but we have on that. But as far as like the public accommodations, what I call, there are 2 types. There's public accommodations, which are the general, and then there's the Title II grievances, and most of those have been all structural, physical accessibility.
Okay.
And since our last meeting, I think I've dealt with 3 of those, and one was more city related. Sometimes it's not clear cut whether it's the city or others, but if it's a city, it's a little easier for me to get fixed
Sure.
generally than when it's a nonprofit or another type of entity, public entity.
Okay.
So there is one that just came in that is in progress, so we'll work on that. What we do is we usually address it, tell the person we received it, then the next step would be, we're going to go out and investigate this, and that's when I take more of the building officials with me when it's structural and kind of like this, just to make sure we're on the same page and that they are seeing things, and then we get back to them and to the person and say, we've looked at it, we're going to talk to the business, and we'll see where we are. And then usually most people are okay with waiting and letting us try and do that. And we haven't had, knock on wood, we've had pretty good success with them doing something, fixing it.
Okay.
Good. Okay, if there's nothing else, I will call for adjournment.
That's seconded.
Awesome.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, this meeting's adjourned.
Thank you.